Hi, I wanted just to take a little bit of time and talk to you about a requirement when you're in a more remote area. And there are a number of warnings from the national parks about your electronic devices not being reliable. So it's a really good idea to carry a complete inventory of paper maps. And just a very basic lesson on how to use a road map. There's a whole generation that's relied on their phones or their GPSs for navigation. This is a compass rose down here, and the compass rose, one more time, will help you orient the map. Let me just move this up into frame. Sorry about bumping the camera here. Right here is the compass rose. We'll get it a little more into it where it needs to be. All right, so what we try to do is always have the map and the compass lined up so that they're in agreement with each other. The compass rose is facing the proper direction. And all right, so let's just take this off down and set it down here. I have a really good Polaris compass that's packed, and so I got this one as a demo compass. It may not be the best, but anyway, you want the map to be oriented to north here. So there's north. And right now, we have it oriented. Normally, north is the top of the chart, south, east, and west. That's pretty basic. When we drive, we're going to orient our map next to us or folded in such a way that we have it oriented with the north being the top of the map up here, south, east, and west. And you'll notice that I have highlighting on here. Almost all the maps that I used on this trip had that kind of highlighting. That way you can easily see your route in a glance. If you're driving around here and you're going 75 miles an hour in interstate, you don't want to take your eyes off the road, where this shows up really quickly. Also, this is kind of for the same thing for readability. It's just kind of a route log, and this is a sample trip from Grand Junction down to Canyonlands, the national park. You know, it takes us 6.7 miles on business loop I-70 to get to the interstate from our hotel. Then to get to the first exit that we have to worry about, it's 75.1 miles, and that's exit 182. This is normally held in place by a little clip like this, and it's actually clipped to the map. That way you don't have to hunt for it, and you don't have to be looking at your map and take your eyes off the road. The idea is you've got it right there in front of you, a quick glance, and then this is the actual turn off here to head south on US 191. The distance for that is 16 miles to our next turnoff, which is Utah 313, and again, it tells us our directions. So we are heading basically south here. You can see that reference in the compass. And then our first turnoff, I have the direction of west. And I use a methodology left over from, you know, lots of years of using paper charts for navigation. And so this is just a shorthand for me. That's south, that's west. And usually use the 8 points of the compass rose for navigating. But again, this seems like a luxury until you really need it. And there were whole portions of this trip where there was no phone service, the GPS didn't work, and again, there's stern warnings about Death Valley and the problems there. There was also a warning by the national park in getting to both Arches and Canyonlands about the fact that GPS was not reliable. This is an official publication from the U.S. government. It talks about not depending on your navigational devices. Do not rely on technology. Your cell phone will not work in most of the park. GPS devices frequently tell Death Valley visitors to turn off well-traveled roads and take shortcuts over the desert into the canyons. Common sense and good judgment are far more reliable. Well, these are just a few of the maps. I actually have a whole nother bundle of the maps that I used for the last month and a half photo expedition that I took in spring into early summer. And I wanted to show you that the maps really do have highlighting on them. I practice what I preach as far as making the navigation easy. Also, for some of these for photography over here, that they have scenic photography points mapped out in advance so that I can really utilize the time when I'm at these parks and these locations. So there's a lot of work in the scouting for photo expedition, but again, this is just a partial viewing of what I took with me. And so you get the idea. I wanted to mention briefly, and I will cover this in another video, that the national parks have several different maps available for each one of them. Anyway, also I want to mention on the maps, I don't talk about it, but you may want to look at the legends. Sometimes there are scenic points, sometimes they show the paving condition of the road, whether it's dirt or actually paved, if it's an interstate or a secondary road. And also on every map there's a mileage scale, and you can go ahead and use that to measure your distances on the map itself. And again, those are things that I didn't mention in this video that you might want to think about.